Awesome. So today in the sigstore office hours, again, I'm Lisa Taliaferri. I'm filling in for Tracy while she's on vacation. For those of you who are in the meeting live with us, please feel free to sign in under attendees. Today we're going to go through two different demos and discussions. So one is with Brian DeHammer on sigstore.js, and the second is on GetSign Attest with Billy Lynch. I think we are ready to jump into the demos unless there's anything else that's top of mind with folks right now. One other reminder is just the SigstoreCon, the CFP is open now for folks who are interested in presenting. It's co-located with KubeCon, so I will drop the link in the chat. Awesome. Brian, are you ready to get started now?
Yeah, definitely.
And I'll stop presenting so you can.
Great. Let's see. Oh, and of course, I'm not set up for screen sharing. Give me 1 sec here. I might have to leave and come back. Sorry about that.
Sure, no problem at all.
Hey, Brian, you're muted. I muted you when you joined back into the room.
Thank you so much. My name is Brian DeHammer. I'm an engineer at GitHub working on the sort of newly formed package security team. And I'm here today to talk about sigstore.js. So this is a project that we started working on a few months ago and just recently sort of contributed to the Sigstore community. But essentially what sigstore.js is kind of a client library in the same vein as like the Sigstore Python library or the Cosign client library, sort of trying to implement the basic mechanics of like signing and verification with Sigstore natively in JavaScript. The primary sort of motivation for this project is, and people here may be aware of this already, but there is a RFC that we recently put out to the NPM community that is a proposal to basically integrate the NPM CLI and registry with Sigstore so that when NPM packages get published, they actually get signed by Sigstore, and that signing material gets sort of published into the NPM registry alongside the package itself, and they can be verified at installation time, whatever. If anybody's interested in reading and or commenting on this RFC, it's in the npm/RFCs repository. It's quite lengthy, and there is quite a bit of conversation going on there. So I'm not going to get into all of the details of that, but sort of the reason I'm here today is to talk about sigstore.js. This is not yet a complete implementation. I just want to make like a big disclaimer about that up front. This is very much like a first draft. We have the basic like broad stroke mechanics of what it is to like do signing and verification in this case TypeScript here, but a lot of the like details of like certificate verification and checking SCT, signed certificate timestamps, those sorts of things is not yet implemented in here. So this is not by any stretch meant for like production use at this point. In fact, we have not even like published a version of this package. Obviously, you can come find the repo and look at the code and check it out, but you will not find this yet published on, say, like the NPM registry, just because it's not, like I said, not ready for prime time at this point. But I can do just a little bit of a demo of what we have here. I'll run through, we'll actually like sign and verify something. So I'm in the directory for my sigstore.js project here. Let's actually create a npm package that we can sign. So I'm going to run the npm pack command. This is going to create a little tarball of this project itself. And one of the things that we have built into the project at the moment is a very rudimentary CLI. This is something that needs like a ton of work. But we can use the CLI to sort of generate a signature for this package that I just built. So let's say we're going to say sigstore sign, and then I'm going to give it the name of this tarball that I just created, and we're going to take the output of that and we're going to redirect it to a file that I'm just going to call signature. So since I'm sort of operating on my own machine here at the moment, it's going to sort of go through the OpenID Connect full CO dance here. It's going to open a browser window asking me to sign in with my preferred OAuth provider. I'm going to click login with GitHub here. Got successful auth, so it's going to take the OIDC token that it returned from that, exchange that for a full CO signing certificate, sign my package, and then upload, obviously the signature and other information up to the Record transparency log. So you can see here that we even get a message saying like, this entry is available on the log. But let's take a peek at the signature file that was generated here. So if I take a look at this, pipe it through JQ, you can sort of see what gets saved as a result of this process. We get like the hash of the tarball itself. We get the base 64 encoded version of the signature, the signing certificate that was retrieved from Fulcio, and then some metadata that comes from the Recore log. If we crack open the cert that's in there, so I'm just going to basically extract that base 64 certificate, pipe it through OpenSSL, and we can sort of see what's embedded in the certificate that we got from Fulcio in this case. But you can see down here that in the subject alternative name field, it has my email address. So because I signed in locally, you can see who sort of provided authentication there, which was through the GitHub OAuth provider. So this is the certificate that contains the public key, sort of binding my identity to the key that was used to generate the signature. If we so we have, again, this bundle with the cert. Let me count this again. With the signature and the cert, we should now be able to use this to actually verify the signature on this artifact that I created here. So again, our very rudimentary CLI, I can use the verify command here, pass in the path to my artifact, and then the path to the signature bundle that I created. And it will use the certificate that's embedded in there, and it will use the signature that's in there and check that against the actual like SHA of the artifact itself, and the tarball in this case. But if I run this, I get, yay, verified, okay, just to sort of prove that we're not like faking anything here. I can change this to say I wanted to verify my package lock JSON file against that signature. Hopefully this fails. It does, obviously because the signature that we have in that bundle there doesn't match the like SHA sum of the package lock JSON. So that's kind of the broad strokes of what we've got. Like I said before, there's a lot of like details that really have not been implemented. There is no sort of like, online verification of like the Recore bundle in this case. I can only use the information that I have saved here at the moment, but we plan to sort of, basically implement all of the like checks and verifications that you would get if you were to do the same operation with like the cosign CLI. Again, with the goal that this library will at some point get integrated with the NPM CLI itself, and then all of this will sort of just happen transparently anytime you do NPM publish, say from like a supported CI provider or whatever. That's kind of the gist of it. Are there any questions? All right. Well, Again, the project is now part of sort of the Sigstore community. Contributors are more than welcome if you're passionate about JavaScript and NPM security. We can use all the help we can get. But thank you.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And you're still accepting comments still? Is that right?
Yeah, on the RFC that's out there, we probably will be for the next month or so. It's quite a large, lengthy proposal, and it touches a lot of parts of the Node ecosystem, including the CLI and the NPM registry. And so there's sort of a lot to chew on in there. So yeah.
Awesome. There's no questions. Great. Thank you so much, Brian. It's really exciting. We're super excited, everyone here at sigstore. Great. Billy, would you like to start your demo?
Sure. All right, cool. All right, hi everyone. If you don't know me already, I'm Billy. I'm one of the maintainers for GetSign, and so what I want to demo today is what we're calling GetSign a test. So the idea behind this is similar with cosign, how we're using basically OCI registries to store attestations alongside images. The idea was kind of, if you're familiar with Dan's original fun.md, what if we use Git itself to store attestations and other signatures alongside the commits, but don't actually muck with the commits themselves. So this is sort of what this does. So what I made was basically right now it's a separate binary. I do want to incorporate this into GetSign itself, so you can just install one tool. But that's probably going to take a little bit more refactoring work, unfortunately. But we do have a demo that works. And so here we just have a pretty basic repo. It has this JSON that we want to add an attestation for. So you can imagine, it doesn't have to be in the repo, but you can imagine this would be a CI job that says hey, I ran this test against this commit and this was the status, and now I want to go and attest to it using my ephemeral keys with sigstore. So it's pretty simple to do. So we can just say GetSign a test, add the file. It's going to send us through the normal auth flow. I'm just going to sign in another tab here. Yeah, and so that was that simple. So if we look at the log, there's still only one commit. We didn't actually muck with anything with the commits. This commit is actually completely unsigned. File. So there's no signature, no nothing. But what this did was this added a new commit to a special ref space that we're calling refs attestations. So if you're familiar with Git notes, this actually works in a very, very similar way. So we can actually go and check out refs attestations commits. And so this isn't a branch, it's just a ref within the repo. And then within here, what we can see is there's folders basically per commit. And so we can, if you look before, this actually matches, we can actually see it here. Git log main, so 021f, whatever. This actually matches the same folder that's in here. And we drill in here, we can see we have the original document that was given to us by the user. This is mostly just in case the actual attestation isn't checked into the repo, because again, if you're CI, maybe you don't want to, as well as a DISI envelope containing the same attestation plus the signature. So we can actually go and, so this is the full attestation in Toto predicate. Bit of a bug, it says SHA-256, but this is actually the SHA-1 of the commit that we attested to. And we can actually, I have the big fancy command somewhere. Here we go. We can actually use cosign to basically just verify the blob. We're just pulling the information from the DISI envelope and verified OK. Yeah, so what we did here was basically we created an attestation, we added it to the special ref space. We didn't modify the commit, but we still were able to sign and do all the keyless flow, just like we would for a cosign attestation, stuff like that. So that's cool by itself. But there's another mode that we added to this binary that I think is pretty interesting, so what this is doing is it's associating attestations to commits, right? But we can actually associate attestations to arbitrary Git objects. And so the other thing that we can do is we can actually do the same exact thing. But this time we're going to add this -t flag. And so we're going to go through the same flow again. Sign in, generate the thing. So we generated attestation, looks exactly the same as before. But what this actually did under the hood is if we look at this commit again, this actually attested to the tree. So trees, if you're not familiar, they're basically like the directories within Git, how it stores like the blobs. And so what this is doing is it's storing an attestation separate of the commit. So it doesn't actually care about who the author was, stuff like that. All it's saying is that this attestation is for this particular set of files. And that can actually be useful because if you imagine things like SBOMs or things like that, like you don't actually care about who's the actual committer for that commit. What you care about is what version of the source code is this attestation pointing to? And normally we use commits for that. But what's nice about this is if you have content that's exactly the same, say with squash commits, rebases, we're even playing around. We're looking with the Kubernetes repo. If you do like subdirectories, you can actually attest to different subdirectories within a repo, which is kind of nifty. And we can do the same thing where we basically get checkouts. This one doesn't go into refs commits. This goes into refs attestation trees. But it's the same thing as before. We can check it out, and we have the same exact data that we had before. Yeah, so that's all I had to demo. It's pretty cool. Still very early days. We definitely want to work with like the Salsa working group to sort of better define like what are source attestations and sort of other standard attestations that we want to put into like source code repositories. But we do think this is really interesting to like start storing attestations alongside source, just like how we do with images. So I will stop there and answer any questions. All right. Yeah, so the code for this, there's a PR up on the GitSign repo right now. To start, we're just going to ship the standalone binary, just install it from source. But in the coming weeks, we're going to hope to add this to the GitSign, the main GitSign binary itself. So stay tuned.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Billy. It's also very exciting. Everybody involved in Sigstore will be able to do more with GitSign. Let me find my window again. Here we are. Okay, so the one thing that I dropped in the chat earlier is just that the Sigstore Con CFP closes this Friday at 11:59 PST. And then notifications will go out September 12th. And if you are going to attend KubeCon North America, the event date is the Tuesday of that week. So we would love to have you. And we want to focus on, or I'm not involved in SigstoreCon, but the SigstoreCon committee wants to focus on user-focused case studies. So if you're using Sigstore, any of the projects under Sigstore, those are very welcome. If you have something else in mind, also feel free to submit. Are there any questions about SigstoreCon right now? Awesome. So now we're at the time where if anybody has questions about using Sigstore, and this is, if you don't have questions right this moment, please feel free to add them to the doc and we could talk about them next time. These are useful in particular for the FAQs that we have on the Sigstore site. And I have been spending a lot of time working on the documentation, so I feel like a lot of them might be out of date. So I would love to hear more questions from the user community. So feel free, if you have a question now, feel free to unmute. Otherwise, feel free to continue to add them to this doc. Okay. And is there any other business that people want to bring up while we're together? All right. So the next time we'll have this community meeting is 30 August. And next week's session will be the contributor section, which everybody is also welcome to attend. Again, this is the user focus office hours. And I'll see you all in Sigstore Slack. Bye, everyone.